Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to another part of the Menat guide. Today we're going to cover a couple of things that I know you guys will find a bit fun. So in this part we're going to go over setups, resets, and I'm also going to show you guys a little bit more of complicated combos that you can do of just very short explanations of those, because I know that I don't want to overload you guys too much, especially if you're a new Menat player or you're just trying to learn V-Trigger 1. So I'm just going to show a couple things that you can do in a very basic sense, and I'm also going to show some of the more complicated things you can do without explanation, so that when you feel more comfortable with the V-Trigger, you can practice it. But for now, let's get into this video, and we're going to start off with some resets. For the purpose of doing this, I figured that it would be easier for me if I recorded the Menat as the dummy to do the different V-Trigger things, like the different resets. That way I could be the CPU and, I could be the opponent that you would usually be fighting and show you guys some of the options that you have to deal with Menat's resets and also what makes them effective. So we're going to start off with the very first reset, and this is going to be her overhead. So you can see here I have the Menat set to do this combo, and then she does the overhead, right? And that's, I didn't do the rest of the combo, but you know you can continue the combo off that. So that's the first reset that I wanted to show you guys. You can do this at any part of your loop that you want to do. To do this, you need to do either light punch or medium punch soul sphere. You can't do it off heavy punch soul sphere because it won't combo in time, but you can do it off light and medium, and this gives you the access to do some really good damaging reset combos, especially if you feel like the combo is going to scale and you need to go for a reset. Sometimes the overhead can be like a good surprise factor for your opponent. It's a bit of a slow overhead though, so do be cautious that if someone's looking out for it, they will be able to block it in time. However, even if they do block it, it's so safe, you're not going to get punished for it. So it's not a bad thing to do. Now I'm going to show you guys what beats this overhead reset. So again, I'm going to set Menat to do this. I can V-shift, V-break. I can jump out. Beats jabs, as you see. Well, stand jab. I don't know about crouch jab. Let's check crouch jab. Oh, it loses to buttons. Okay. So it just depends on range. EXDP or CA would work. Let's see, maybe if your opponent's smashing Protect. Oh, no, but it will beat Protect. So those are the different things that the resets are going to cover. So you will see that it will beat some buttons, it will beat Protect, it will beat low people who are blocking low. It will lose to high blocks, so people who are walking back, jump outs, backdashes, and reversals. And some buttons will reach in time as well, because there is a big gap in there. So that's going to be the overhead reset, when to use it, and what loses to it. Now we're going to show you the second one. And for this one, I've decided to show you guys what you can do as a polar opposite to the overhead, which is just doing a reset off a low. So the low is actually quite interesting because a lot of people will not react to the overhead, but will walk back instinctively. And as you can see, I was walking back with my Ryu, and I got clipped by the crouch medium kick. You could use this low to trick your opponent, and I'm going to show you guys. I'm holding up back, but I got hit meaty, and then it meant that even up back lost to that there. Let's try that now with backdash. This low is really good for stopping multiple options. Backdash, I got an air reset there, but I'm sure you can even make it media to beat backdash. How about V-shift? Loses to V-shift into V-break. What about throw? Nope, it beats throw. What about DP? Loses to DP and CA. So again, the low is good, covers more options than the overhead. It will lose to people blocking low, but it will still be plus. It will beat people who are jumping back. It will get an air reset at worst from a backdash. If you time it better, you can probably get it meaty. It will beat people walking back, which people often like to do against that V trigger. It will lose to DP and CA, and it will beat buttons and throw tech. So that's pretty good to go for off a low that's plus on block, safe anyways. Not much risk in doing it. It's a good reset to go for. The next reset I'm going to show you guys is just getting a back throw reset. When would you do this? Well, I think it's important to discuss this, that it could be sometimes useful to go for this if your opponent is near stun and you want to get a reset to reduce scaling, or you don't want to waste the orbs that you currently have active. So if your opponent, if you feel like this combo is not going to do too much scaling and not enough damage, and you don't want to waste your V-trigger orbs, you want to keep them for another time, another mix-up, then you might just go for a back throw or a forward throw reset depending on where your opponent is. And then this allows you to get more stun on them, which could potentially stun them. Or it can just allow you to then use more of your mix-ups and orbs. So it's a really good. Let's check what it loses to now. It will lose to people mashing throw tech. It will lose to people mashing V shift. It will lose to DP. It will lose to people mashing buttons. Again, losing to a lot of things that people are mashing. It will lose to up back and back dashes. So again, this one is more of the riskier option because of how many things it does lose to. Well, actually, I shouldn't say it's riskier. It's more of an option that just is meant to catch your opponent off guard, right? If they're walking back or crouch blocking, any kind of blocking, this is going to work on them. But if they're aware of the reset, or they're aware that you might throw them, or they're just holding up in general to get out or mashing to get out, then this is going to lose to all of those options. Now, that's not to say that you can't then follow up and beat those options. Like we showed in the previous videos, there are options where if your opponent does jump back, for example, you release your air orbs and you punish them. Same for backdashes, same for pressing buttons. You know, there's always, and V-shift, there's always options that you can cover using meaty throws, because those are very strong. And even if your opponent does tech, you go back to neutral, you still have your orbs, they're probably going to be scared to approach. It's not the worst option to go for in the world. It's just something that you have to be cautious that it does lose to a couple things well. The next one I'm going to show you guys is the drill reset that is used to beat throw tech. So you see there, I'm mashing throw tech and I got smoked for it, right? That's the strength of this, because this is definitely just designed, this reset is literally just to beat people who mash throws or are scared to take a throw to get reset for stun. So if you have your opponent high on stun and the next throw will stun them, they will often tech because they don't want to take the damage from a throw into stun, which does less scaling. So if you read this, you can just do an immediate heavy kick drill and that will beat their throw tech and you'll continue with your combo. But this will lose to multiple things because of the fact that you're walking forward and doing nothing as well. So use this sparingly, and if your opponent is showing you that they like to tech a lot, this is great. This is an absolutely fantastic thing to go for. Even not just the reset, but just in neutral. So the last option I'm going to cover here is how to beat V-shift. And we need to know how to beat V-shift because this is a new mechanic that Capcom added in the most recent patch of this game. And it's something that a lot of people have gone to try and deal with resets from Menat. And you'll notice that a lot of people are mashing this on hit or on block against her. So we need to figure out a way to blow this up. And for that reason, I'm going to show you guys now exactly what the answer is. So I have the Menat dummy set to do the combo. And as you can see here, I'm just mashing V-shift. And you see, I just do a slight delay, just to wait. And then I slide on reaction to the V-shift. Now, obviously you might be saying, okay, well, this is not the best thing to do. This is just specific for V-shift. And that's exactly what it is. It is exactly just for V-shift because V-shift is a mechanic that you're not going to be able to blow up an OS very easily. It's something that you're going to have to commit to punishing, which then leaves you open to other things. But then what is also good about this is that in that slight time you wait, you might bait out a DP or a CA. but then you would block a button if your opponent was mashing a button, or you might eat a throw, but you would cover DP or CA and V-shift with just a slight delay and then continue. So that's not the worst thing in the world. It's just that you're forced to change up your offense if you're afraid your opponent is mashing V-shift. They may not be, but you know, it's not the worst thing in the world to go for and to show your opponent, because once you show them that you can punish it, they'll probably not do it again. They may not, but you have shown them the answers for it, and then you're also aware yourself of what you can do to punish V-shift if it does come up. So those are some of the basic resets to go for with Menat on hit. Again, any questions, let me know. Obviously, there are more complicated ones, but for the sake of this guide and not overwhelming you guys with information, I'm just going to keep it really basic here. Here's a setup that not a lot of people use, but is actually really good to implement if you get a really close activation. So if you activate when you're really close to your opponent, what you should do is you do your crouch medium punch into heavy punch soul sphere, and then triple tap your medium punch to get the medium orb release. Then do heavy dash up, heavy punch recall, jump forward, and then do a heavy kick drill, and then release your heavy punch. What this does is it allows Menat to hop over so that it crosses up, and then she crosses up, and then your heavy punch orb will hit your opponent. So then if they're not blocking cross up, they're just gonna get hit into a reset into full damages. There you go. That's a good reset that you guys could go for, and is a really tricky one for your opponent to block. The next thing I want to show you guys is some basic setups, and I'm going to show you also what is possible to get off of these setups. So first of all, I'm going to break down these setups and show you how they work, and then after that I'm going to do a full combo of them, which you don't need to worry too much about how to do the actual combos and loops. I'm just showing you what's possible, and I'm going to show you some very complicated combos that you can do without explanation, just so that you guys have something to work towards and understand what is possible with the character. When you master all the basics and stuff, you guys can start working towards those loops based on the fundamental stuff I've taught you in this guide so far. Cool. First thing I want to go into is the corner setup, which is based on using the heavy punch orb as a cross up or fake cross up in a sense, right? So you activate and you hold your heavy punch down. Your opponent has to be cornered for this one to work. So what you do is you dash forward and you release your heavy punch, and immediately as you're releasing this, you jump forward and press medium kicks. It will look something like this. And you'll see there you're +8. Depending on when you release your orb and jump forward, it depends on how your opponent will have to block, because obviously they have to block Menat's model. So if she's behind when the orb hits, then they'd have to block cross up. If she's in front, they'd have to block in front. That's how this setup works. So you're going to want to do this, cross up, and you see you can go into your loop. So that's this first setup. You're going to want to do this. This is really safe to do as well, because even if they do block, you're still in a position where you can then back throw them back into the corner, or throw bait them if you think they're going to tech, and then you can continue on with your pressure or whatever you want to do. So now that I've shown you that, let me show you a more complicated combo that we can go into using this setup. The next setup I wanted to show you guys is a very practical one that you can use as also a way to activate. So to do this one, what you're going to want to do is to anti-air your opponent with crouch heavy punch and then cancel into V-trigger activation. Now, the higher up your opponent is and the closer they are towards you, is the easier this is to set up. So what you're going to want to do, you're going to want to have your opponent jump at you, and then when you anti-air them, you slide and you release your medium punch orbs. What you can do is you can anti-air your opponent, slide underneath, and then go into a full combo, whichever you want to do, whatever loop you feel like is comfortable for you, go into it, and there you go. That's a good setup to go for when your opponent's jumping at you. It's hard for them to block because obviously they're not expecting you to cross up, and you could also do other things, but that's one of the setups that I personally like to go for with Menat. The next group of setups, I should say, I'm going to do is based on the premise of using Menat's drill, right? So depending on the distance you are from your opponent depends on which drill you would use. So from this distance you would want to use your light kick drill because it goes really far, right? It covers the most distance. But if you were, let's say, mid-range, you would go for your medium kick drill, and if you were at really close distance, you might go for your heavy kick drill. So let's say you're activated in V-trigger. You might want to go for your light kick drill and then do an immediate jump forward and light kick, which sets up an instant overhead. What's good about this is that even if you misspace your drill slightly, it doesn't matter because you can still get the jump forward light kick that would beat your opponent blocking or throw teching, because sometimes people like to throw tech there. But the only problem is that if your opponent actually does mash throw tech, so I have the dummy here to mash throw tech, and you do the common kick or the drill too high up, then they can throw punish you, right? But then this also sets up the ability to frame trap. So let's say you space this correctly. You can also then go for a crouch medium kick and frame trap, use your plus frames, or you can raw jump over, you can do the instant overhead that we discussed and get a side switch. It's really up to you what you want to do at that point. But then use it, so it just goes to show how good using your drills are, and why when you have the V-trigger 1 it could lead to some devastating options. So, alright, so now let me show you guys a little combo that you can do. Do an instant overhead. Now I messed up that combo quite a bit, right? In terms of like, I could have gone for more damage. I even got one of my orbs out by accident in a loop. But the premise is the same, where I showed you guys how much damage you can get off just one of these setups. And I could have gone for more damage and stun if I didn't mess up the combo. But the premise remains the same. Using that setup allows you to have that option to really open up your opponent. And then your opponent even blocks this, it doesn't matter because these air orbs come down and then they make you safe anyways, right? So it's still really good to use overall. I would definitely recommend it. Even if you just want to empty jump, you could even just fake them out and neutral jump if you think they're going to block the cross up. It's really good to use overall. And then also if you think your opponent might DP or something, you can jump over and bait their DP. And even if their DP hits you, the air orbs will hit them out of it afterwards. So you trade on damage, which depending on your opponent's resources or life left, they may not want to do that. That setup is really good to use for Menat, and it's one that you'll see a lot of Menat players using and abusing a lot. So once you have access to these two air orbs, just do the drill, and then it opens up so much. You can do so much off that. This isn't even specific to being cornered. You could just do this in neutral. Just try to get comfortable with your drill spacing in general, because you don't want to drill too high and then just get thrown, you know? That's the one thing you want to avoid. To show in the drills as well, right? If your opponent does try to press a button, so I have the dummy set to press a button, and you go for a drill, even a badly spaced drill, you'll notice that even your opponent pressing a button, if you space the drill well, it's fine. You can just make yourself safe with those air orbs if they try to go for a button. And if they go for like a medium or something, you get a full punish on them, and then you get a trade combo. Whereas if they go for a throw, the throw beats a badly spaced drill. So you force your opponent into a situation there where they have to really guess what you're going to go for. And if you just want to avoid misspacing your drill, because if your opponent does know they can throw you out there, then the mix-up's gone. So you want to really work on your drill spacing to avoid getting thrown out of your drills. So as long as you can hit your drills, aim for below the opponent's waist. That way, if they press a button, you'll be covered. And if they try to throw you, you can jump out of the throw, or you can go for your low and frame trap them. It depends on how you space your drills. Just try to make it so that you don't drill mad high and then they can throw you out of it, right? That's the one thing you want to avoid there. The next setup I'm going to show you guys is actually off of the activation route, the medium punch activation route that we discussed. So usually you would go into something like this, right? But what you're going to want to do is once you do the air orbs here, you're going to want to keep your opponent guessing on what you're going to do. So your opponent is going to have to guess between overhead, instant overhead, throw, low, jump over, fake cross up. You're gonna put them into like a 6-way mix up of this, right? So there's so many things you can do here. So let's say we go for this. We can go for that to cross up, and you can use this to like also then just jump and make them think you're gonna cross up. You could go for low. It catches walk back. It catches them trying to jump, backdash, press a button because it's a frame trap. You could even go for nothing, and if they press a button, the air orbs will hit them. You can go for a frame trap. You could go for throw if you think they're not going to press a button. So let me just quickly take the dummy pressing jab off. You go for something like this. And you can see there that you can go for throw if they're low on life, because people don't really tend to tech there. They're scared of the other options, so they don't tend to tech, but then you can just get free damage that way. You can go for a multitude of things here. You can even go for nothing and then go for your throw bait of heavy kick drill. So that's another good setup to go for. You can go for cross ups, you can go for fake cross up, low, high, instant overhead. You can do this. Just a slight walk forward into light kick, jump light kick. Then you get a combo and landing if you time this correctly. Go. So this is one of the best, most common mix-ups to go for, because obviously it is something that's going to happen whenever you activate. You're going to want to use your medium punch activate often. You know, this is something that you're going to find that is going to be available to you quite a bit. So putting your opponent in the mix-up on block is super good to do here as well. And you can bait out a multitude of things. You can bait out V-shift, you can bait out V-reversals, you can bait out throw techs, DPs, buttons. It just depends on how you read your opponent. The next setup you can go for is sort of a neutral-based setup that you can do to throw your opponent off. So you know you can bait people's throws with instant air dive kick, right? We've explained this at this point. Now I'm going to show you another way you can bait people's throws. So let's say you have your heavy kick orb. Instead of going for your drill, what you could do as well is hold your heavy kick button, right? And then you dash forward and then you neutral jump in your opponent's face. This is where they would usually tech, right? And then as you've jumped, you release your heavy kick button, and then you press heavy punch so that it combos, and then tap your light kick and light punch buttons as if you were throwing, and then they will combo, land into medium kick, and it will all combo. Once you get all of this done, it's gonna look something like this. Now that's not an optimal combo or anything, but I'm just showing you what's available from going for one of those setup situations. So again, hold your heavy kick button, release it just as you jump, press heavy punch, then release your 2 air orbs, land into medium kick so it pushes them into the air orbs, then you jump forward heavy kick and go into your loop. It's really simple once you break it down, but what I want to advise you guys here is break these things down into small parts, so that you can casually and gradually get them instead of trying to all force it down at once. Because once you break them down into small parts and learn individual parts of them well, then when you put it all together, it feels really easy because you would have the muscle memory down for it all. That's my advice on that one. Alright guys, the last explained setup I want to show you is actually a crush counter starter that you can use before activating your V-trigger and then going into it. So for this one, I've chosen to explain this because depending on how, it's quite complicated, and it depends on how you set it up is whether it crosses up or not. So you do crush counter stand heavy kick, and instead of cancelling into V-trigger immediately, so if you cancel into V-trigger, this will happen, right? Your opponent will stay standing, and you don't really want to do that for this setup. What you do is you do crush counter stand heavy kick, and as your opponent is falling to their knees, you activate, and then you do slide and release your medium punch orb. So you see there I was able to make it stay in front because I didn't do any movement. So to make this stay in front, what you do is you do stand heavy kick, crush counter, wait for him to fall to his knees, and then do slide with medium punch orb, and there you go. It will stay in front. You can also make this into a mix-up on a cross-up. So what you can do here is you do crush counter heavy kick, walk forward slightly, activate, and then you slide with your medium punch orb, and you see that the medium punch orb hits your opponent in a cross-up way as you go under them. So this is a sort of a giveaway for you as the Menat player to know whether you're going to cross up or stay in front. So if you just stand still and you do the slide, you stay in front, and if you do a slight walk forward before you activate and then do your slide into medium orb, then you cross under them, which is huge. This is a really good setup to go for because it's really hard to read. So guys, I just wanted to say that this is where I'm choosing to end off the Menat guide. It's been a really fun series that I did, and I didn't expect to have so much support and love in all the comments from you guys. I haven't had to deal with a single hate comment, which is mad cool. I really appreciate how much you guys enjoyed this series. What I will say is that I know there are still things I can technically cover, but what I'll do is, for the purpose of keeping it basic, I'll end it off here as the main series. If you have any specific questions, direct them to me either on the comments in my stream or through Discord, and I'll try and answer it, maybe make a little bonus video or two out of it, and then we can add it to the series. But I think this is going to be the end of it, and I can't stress how much I'm grateful to all of you for the non-stop support, love, all of that. Like, I've had crazy messages in my streams, on Discord. That stuff goes a long way. The time I'm recording this, at the time of me recording this, there's 5 days left until Rose comes out. So what that means is that I may actually wait for a little bit and record a Rose guide when I get a little bit more comfortable with the character and understand her more. In the meantime, this channel will become a place where I post stream highlights, discussion videos, other kinds of like productive or like productive content. Like maybe I'll do a Menat matchup guide, breaking down different matchups for different characters. It has been something you guys have requested quite a bit to me, so there will still be content coming to this channel, but from next week we're going to be focusing a little bit more on Rose. If you do want to see a Laura or a Rose guide, please do let me know as well, because I play Laura the same level I play Menat, and also I am going to be learning Rose to that level as well. Again, everybody, thank you so much. If you enjoyed this series, please leave a subscribe and a like, and I'll catch you on the next video I do. Take care.